Today, we're going to cover two types of covalent bonds. Remember, we've been talking about the different types of bonds. So far we have an ionic bond, a metallic bond, and we were talking about the covalent bond and how to name them. And there are actually two types of covalent bonds that you can see here on the screen. The first one is called a polar covalent bond, and the second one is a non-polar covalent bond. And if you remember from earlier in the year, we talked about the difference between polar and non-polar. If something is polar, then it has two opposite ends. And if it's non-polar, then it only has one type of end, okay? That doesn't have two opposite ends. So a polar covalent bond has is a result of a large electronegativity difference. And if you remember, electronegativity is defined as the desire of an electron or a desire of an atom to pull electrons towards itself. Okay? Since we're talking about covalent bonds, and covalent bonds are shared, they're sharing electrons. If one of them pulls electrons towards itself with more power, then it's going to hold on to those electrons for a greater period of time versus the other one. So that's going to make it a polar covalent bond. So let's look at an example. Let's look at nitrogen covalently bonded to oxygen. So you have your two nonmetals, and the question might be, is this a polar covalent bond or a nonpolar covalent bond? Well, this one is closer to chlorine. Okay, nitrogen is closer to chlorine than oxygen is. So this is going to have a greater electronegativity. So what that means is it's going to pull the electrons towards itself with more force. So in actuality, the electrons are going to spend more of their time over here, and we know that electrons have a negative charge, whereas over here we're going to have a positive charge because the electrons aren't going to be spending their time over there as much. So now you can see we have two opposite ends. We have a negative end and a positive end, so therefore this is polar. Okay? An example of a nonpolar covalent bond would be most likely if you have two of the same elements bonded to each other. Oxygen bonded to oxygen, these have equal electronegativity. Okay? So if they have equal electronegativity, then you're not going to have a positive and a negative end. They're going to be equal on both sides. So this would be an example of a nonpolar covalent bond. So, just to review, covalent bonds involve the sharing of electrons, and you can actually have more than one bond between two atoms. You can have a single bond when they're sharing one pair of electrons. Now notice I said one pair. A pair means two, just in case you didn't know that. And a double covalent bond would then be two pairs, which is four electrons. A triple covalent bond would be the sharing of three pairs, which is actually six electrons. Now I know in the right hand corner these look like eggs, but they are actually supposed to be pictures of atoms, and you can see we have two atoms. Each one is bringing one electron to the party. They're going to share those two electrons together, and that's going to complete their octet. That's the whole goal of bonding, remember, is to complete the octet. So the way we represent this when we are drawing them is with a dash. So a dash represents a bond, a single bond of electrons. So that's two electrons total. So if we had hydrogen bonded with hydrogen, as you can see right here, okay, hydrogen is single bonded to another hydrogen. That represents two electrons. So now the line goes to both. This hydrogen has two electrons, and so does this one, since they're sharing. So they now have the stable electron configuration of the element helium. We call these bonded pairs, okay? The dash is a bond. That's a covalent bond or a single covalent bond. So that means that these other ones that aren't taking place in bonding, that are surrounding the atom, okay, those other electrons that are not involved, they're not shared, those are called lone pairs or unshared pairs. If they're not shared, they are unshared, okay? So you can see here, fluorine has 7 valence electrons. That's what this is depicting. How did I know that? If you look at the periodic table, right over here, fluorine is in column 17, so it has 7 valence electrons. It just needs one more electron to become like neon with 8, okay? Everybody wants 8. So fluorine has 7 electrons. If they bond with each other, since this line right here represents 2 electrons and it's counts for both. Now look, this fluorine has 2, 4, 6, 8 electrons, and this fluorine has 2, 4, 6, this counts for both, 8 electrons right here. So they both now have 8 valence electrons, so they're both happy. That's what they want. Okay, all elements want to be happy with 8 valence electrons. So how do you draw what are known as Lewis dot structures? Well, there are some steps. Okay, and we're going to take a look at these steps, and of course it gets a little more complex as you go on, but we'll just take it one step at a time. So it says you count the valence electrons available. You have to look at the column on the periodic table. Then you draw what's known as a skeleton structure. Subtract out the electrons you've already used in the diagram, and then distribute the rest of the electrons. Okay, so let's take a look at this one. If we're going to be drawing methane, first we have to count up the valence electrons available. If you look on the periodic table, carbon is in column 14, so it has 4 valence electrons. Over here in column 1 has 1 valence electrons. So let's add up the total. Okay, carbon has 4. There is 1 carbon, so that's a total of 4 valence electrons. Okay, so basically it's the number of valence electrons times the number of atoms. All right, hydrogen has 1 valence electron, and there are 4 hydrogens. So that is also a total of 4 valence electrons. They're bringing 8 valence electrons to the party. So now we draw what's known as our skeleton structure. The first element listed usually goes in the middle, and then everything else is attached to it. Okay, so we have 4 hydrogens attached to a carbon. That's what this is saying, CH4. The carbon is first, it goes in the middle, there are 4 hydrogens coming off of it. So now we subtract out from our 8 total. Okay, we had 8 valence electrons total. How many have we used up in the diagram? Remember, each line is worth 2 electrons. So here's 2, 4, 6, 8 electrons used up. Take away 8, we have 0 electrons left. When you get down to 0, you have to check, is everybody happy in the diagram? Well, everybody needs 8 valence electrons except hydrogen. Hydrogen only wants 2 valence electrons. So look, 2, 4, 6, 8. Carbon is happy. Okay, each one of these applies to carbon. 2, 4, 6, 8. Carbon has 8, he's good to go. Each one of these hydrogens wants 2 electrons. 2, 2, 2, 2. Hydrogen is happy also. So this Lewis dot structure is done. Okay, that's why we don't need to distribute any excess electrons. There aren't any. We're down to 0. Everyone's happy. That's how we know we're done. I want you to pause the video right now and try NH3 all on your own. See if you can draw it. So draw it first and then press play and come back and see the answer. So here was the other one. And now here's NH3. Did you get it right? Let's go through it. So we make a list. Always make a list. We have nitrogen and we have hydrogen in our ammonia. The number of valence electrons that nitrogen brings to the party, we have to look at our periodic table. Right here, nitrogen is in column 15, so it has 5 valence electrons. 5 valence electrons. Hydrogen we know is in column 1, so it has 1 valence electron. In NH3, how many nitrogens are there? 1, so this is the number of atoms. And in hydrogen, there are 3 of them. Okay, there's 3 atoms. So the next step is to draw the skeleton structure. Nitrogen's going to go in the middle, and then we have 3 hydrogens coming off of it. Okay, 1 nitrogen, 3 hydrogens. The next step is to subtract out from your total number of valence electrons. So I forgot to add that up. So we have 5 valence electrons here. We have 3 valence electrons here, for a grand total of 8 valence electrons. It won't always be 8. It just so happens that it worked out this way for both of the examples. So we have 8. How many have we used up in our drawing so far? 2, 4, 6. Okay, so we're going to take away 6 electrons. So now we have 2 electrons left over. Is everybody happy? This hydrogen's happy. This hydrogen's happy. This hydrogen's happy. Is nitrogen happy? 2, 4, 6. Not happy. It needs 2 more electrons, so we place the electrons as lone pairs on the atom, and then you have your full octet around the nitrogen atom. Okay, so that's why your final drawing ends up looking something like this. Okay? Moving on. Oh, look, a break. So I want you to take a look at these, think about them, come with the answers to class tomorrow. All right, now it gets a little bit harder. What if you don't have enough electrons? What if you run out and not everybody has 8 valence electrons? Well, then you have to go to double bonds. If that doesn't work, then you go to triple bonds. Okay? The tips there come in handy. Carbon is almost always the central atom. The first atom listed is usually the central atom, and you will never have hydrogen in the middle. You will almost never have oxygen or halogens in the middle. They'll usually be attached. Okay? So let's draw CO2. Again, we make a list. CO2. We have 1 carbon and 2 oxygens. Each carbon comes to the party with, let's look at the periodic table, column 14, 4 valence electrons. Each oxygen comes to the party with, look at the periodic table, 16, 6 valence electrons. Okay, so this is 4. This is 12, for a total of 16 valence electrons. So, in our diagram, we have to represent 16 valence electrons. We draw our skeleton structure. Now, this is where I want you to switch to a pencil. If you haven't been using a pencil up till now, you'll want to use a pencil. And anytime you draw a Lewis dot structure, you want to do a pencil because there's gonna be errors. You're gonna have to start over. Don't do it in pen. Okay. All right, so CO2. How many of our 16 electrons have we used up so far in the picture? Well, here's 2, here's 4. Take away 4. We now have 12 valence electrons left to distribute. This oxygen needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 electrons in order to make a complete octet. 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so we've used up 6. Now we have 6 left. This carbon needs 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, look, 2, 4, 6, 8. So now we've used up 4 more. Now we have 2 left. How many does this oxygen need? He needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But do we have 6 electrons available to hand out? No, we do not. All right. So what you have to do is you have to get the eraser and you have to start over. So you erase all the way back up to the total number of valence electrons. You'll notice I also erased all of the electrons too. So now we start over. This time we make a double bond. So how many have we used up so far? 2, 4, 6 electrons in our skeleton structure. So we have 10 left to distribute. This oxygen needs 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because look, he already has 4. 2, 4, 6, 8. So we take away 4 electrons from there. Now we have 6 left to give out. This carbon needs to get to 8. 2, 4, 6. 2 more. So now we take away 2 more. Now we have 4 left to give out. How many does this oxygen need? Oh, it's not going to work again. Oh my gosh, how frustrating. Because if we only give it the 4 that we have left, 2, 4, 6, that oxygen does not have 8 electrons. He is not happy. So guess what you have to do? Get out your eraser and start over again. Erase all the way back to your number of electrons. This time, we're going to make 2 double bonds. If this doesn't work, we're going to make a triple bond and a single bond. Okay? All right, so this time, out of our 16, we've used up 2, 4, 6, 8. Take away 8 valence electrons. We have 8 left to hand out. This oxygen needs 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now he has 8. Look, 2, 4, 6, 8. How many does this carbon need? You should say none. 2, 4, 6, 8. He's happy in the middle. He's got 4 bonds. That's 8 electrons total. Okay? So of the 8, we've used up 4. We have 4 left to give out. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're down to 0. Is everybody happy in the picture? You check. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. Everybody in the picture has 8 valence electrons. Okay, so this diagram is done, dude. There's one final example that we have to look at, and that's if you're drawing a polyatomic ion. There's a couple of changes that we need to make. So, if we're drawing ammonium, that's a polyatomic ion. We have our list, so 1 nitrogen, and each one has 5 valence electrons. Hydrogen, we have 4 of them, and each one has 1 valence electron. So that's 5 up here, 4 right here, for a total of 9 valence electrons. Now, here's where it changes. This right here, the plus, what does that mean? That means that you have given away electrons. Remember, if it's positive, you've lost electrons. In this case, we've lost 1 electron. So before we do anything else, we have to take away 1 of our electrons from the total. So we actually have 8 valence electrons to hand out. Okay? So we draw our skeleton structure, nitrogen in the middle, 4 hydrogens coming off of it. How many have we used up? 2, 4, 6, 8. So we are down to 0 electrons. Is everyone happy? Yes, they are. And this is where people go wrong on the test all the time. You stop and you leave it at that. But there is one more step. You have to include the charge on polyatomic ions by putting brackets around the entire thing and putting the charge on the outside. So we have ammonium, and there's a positive charge on that polyatomic ion. So you have to include that. So when you draw a polyatomic ion, not only do you have to remember to take or add electrons according to the charge, but you also have to put brackets around the whole thing and then put the charge on the outside as well. There are a couple of exceptions to the octet rule. I just want you to know that they're out there. These are common examples and the Lewis dot structures of each one. You'll notice that boron, for example, in the first one only has 6 electrons. He's happy. He doesn't need 8. Phosphorus and sulfur have more than 8 electrons, and they're happy. They can have more than 8 electrons in their energy levels, in their outermost energy levels. So look through those, write down how many valence electrons each have, and draw the Lewis dot structures into your notes. We are going to skip this slide. You don't need to know that. Finally, molecular shape. We will be talking about the VSEPR theory, and I know it says VSEPR, but scientists call it the VSEPR theory. You need to know what it stands for. It stands for valence shell electron pair repulsion. So write down this information. We will be going over this in class and doing a lab on it. It's not something that we can really do by video, so we'll go over the VSEPR theory in class, and it has to do with the shapes and how the atoms are set up in a molecule. All right, and we're going to round it out today after this long set of boring notes with a joke. See if you can get it.